Samsy, story time on a little scooter. Well, the remarkable case of Davidson's eyes. We gonna finish this sucker up today. What are we doing today, Samsy? We gonna take us a little scooty ride from Wynn Campground up in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest, and we's gonna head on over to Alpine on the famous Forest Road 249. It's one of my most favorite drives. I often just kind of camp out there and just take pictures all day long because there's just so much activity on it. There it is right there. Well, actually, that's not quite it yet. That's still on the way to Big Lake. I don't think it turns into Forest Road 249 till we get to Big Lake. But anyway, that's a different deal. Let's talk about this story now. This remarkable case of Davidson's eyes. Now, we had just part one. We had just finished up the first two chapters, and this Davidson guy, he's in a wreck. Something happened. There was a big old thunderstorm and something had happened, and he can't see nothing. He can see stuff, but it's not reality. And so he closes his eyes, and of course everything is dark, and then he can hear everything, and everything seems normal. But then as soon as he opens his eyes, everything is just crazy weird. So here we go. We're going to pick it up with chapter 3. That was the beginning. For 3 weeks, this strange affection of Davidson's eyes continued unabated. It was far worse than being blind. He was absolutely helpless and had to be fed like a newly hatched bird and led about and undressed. If he attempted to move, he fell over things or struck himself against walls or doors. After a day or so, he got used to hearing our voices without seeing us, and willingly admitted he was at home, and that Wade was right in what he told him. My sister, to whom he was engaged, insisted on coming to see him, and would sit for hours every day while he talked about this beach of his. Holding her hand seemed to comfort him immensely. He explained that when we left the college and drove home, he lived in Hampstead Village. It appeared to him as if we drove right through a sandhill. It was perfectly black until he emerged again, and through rocks and trees and solid obstacles. And when he was taken to his own room, it made him giddy and almost frantic with fear of falling, because going upstairs seemed to lift him 30 or 40 feet above the rocks of his imaginary island. He kept saying he should smash all the eggs. The end was that he had been taken down into his father's consulting room and laid upon a couch that stood there. Oh boy, that guy's a mess. All right. Oh yeah, nothing exciting there, just a regular old beautiful Arizona drive. Arizona, see, everybody go like, Arizona? What are you talking about, Arizona? Oh, now we on Forest Road 249. We just pulled out of Big Lake there, and some years ago they paved this road, so it's still in really good condition. And I kind of liked it when it was a gravel road. It was one of my favorite dual sport rides. I'd use this one and the Coronado Trail, and you had a good mix of dirt roads and pavement roads and that kind of thing, and lots of good places to go camping. And then they paved this, so now it's a really popular summer ride for the Harley Davidson groups, well, just for all the biking groups in general. But any bike can get on this road now. So that they cut across here and they go up to Alpine and then head on over to Springerville. There's a couple of really nice loops that are really just a real pleasurable ride. So you don't need any kind of special bike or skills in order to do it. You just need to enjoy yourself. Okay. He described the island as being a bleak kind of place on the whole. It was very little vegetation, except some peaty stuff and a lot of bare rock. There were multitudes of penguins that made the rocks white and disagreeable to see. The sea was often rough, and once there was a thunderstorm, and he lay and shouted at the silent flashes. Once or twice seals pulled up on the beach, but only on the first 2 or 3 days. He said it was very funny the way in which the penguins used to waddle right through him, and how he seemed to lie among them without disturbing them. I remember one odd thing, and that was when he wanted very badly to smoke. We put a pipe in his hands. He almost poked his eye out with it and lit it, but he couldn't taste anything. I've since found it's the same with me. I don't know if it's the usual case that I cannot enjoy tobacco at all unless I can see the smoke. But the queerest part of his vision came when Wade sent him out in a bath chair to get fresh air. The Davidsons hired a chair and got that deaf and obstinate dependent of theirs, Widgery, to attend to it. Widgery's ideas of healthy expeditions were peculiar. My sister, who had been to the dogs' home, met them in Camden Town, toward King's Cross. Widgery trotting along complacently, and Davidson, evidently most distressed, trying in his feeble, blind way to attract Widgery's attention. He positively wept when my sister spoke to him. "Oh, get me out of this horrible darkness," he said, feeling for her hand. "I must get out of it, or I shall die." He was quite incapable of explaining what was the matter, but my sister decided he must go home, and presently, as they went upstairs, as they went uphill towards Hampstead, the horror seemed to drop from him. He said it was good to see the stars again, though it was then about noon and a blazing day. It seemed, he told me afterwards, as if I was being carried irresistibly towards the water. I was not very much alarmed at first. Of course, it was right there, a lovely night. Of course, I asked, for that struck me as odd. Of course, she said. It's always night there when it's day here. Well, we went right into the water, which was calm and shining under the moonlight. Just a broad swell that seemed to grow broader and flatter as I came down into it. The surface glistened just like a skin. It might have been empty space underneath for all I could tell to the contrary. Very slowly, for I rode slanting into it. The water crept up to my eyes. Then I went under, and the skin seemed to break and heal again about my eyes. The moon gave a jump up in the sky and grew green and dim. Oh, we're just going to sit here for a minute and take a few pictures, and then we'll jump back to it. It's a good spot to to kind of stop. Like I say, I stop and I'll sit here and I'll take pictures of motorcycles going by. And sometimes it takes a long time for me to realize, oh, you've been here too damn long. All right. And grew green and dim, and fish, faintly glowing, came darting round me, and things that seemed made of luminous glass. And I passed through a tangle of seaweeds that shone with a oily luster. And so I drove down into the sea, and the stars went out one by one, and the moon grew greener and darker, and the seaweed became a luminous purple red. It was all very faint and mysterious, and everything seemed to quiver, and all the while I could hear the wheels of the bath chair creaking, and the footsteps of people going by, and a man in the distance selling the special Pall Mall. I kept sinking down deeper and deeper into the water. It became inky black about me. Not a ray from above came down into the darkness, and the phosphorescent things grew brighter and brighter. The snaky branches of the deeper weeds flickered like the flames of spirit lamps, but after a time there was no more weeds. The fishes came staring and gaping towards me, and into me and through me. I never imagined such fishes before. They had lines of fire along their sides of them, as though they had been outlined with a luminous pencil. And there was a ghastly thing swimming backwards with a lot of twinning arms. And then I saw, coming very slowly towards me through the gloom, a hazy mass of light that resolved itself as it drew near into multitudes of fishes, struggling and darting around something that drifted. Ooh. I drove on straightwards toward it. I presently saw, in the midst of the tumult, hang on a second, I think, let me just get a grasp of what's happening on this drive here. Oh, I know this spot. There's some bighorn sheep coming up. And by the light of the fish, a bit of splintered spar looming over me, and a dark hull tilting over, and some glowing phosphorescent forms that were shaken and writhed as the fish bit at them. Then it was I began to try to attract Widgery's attention. A horror came upon me. Ugh! I should have driven right into those half-eaten things. If your sister had not come, they had great holes in them, bellows, and never mind, but it was ghastly. Oh, that's chapter 3. We're going into chapter 4 here. Let's just take a look at these. I spot these this big herd, a herd of bighorn sheep here, and I'm like, oh boy, look at that. I sure was glad I was on my little scooty and not in a little door or anything. I wouldn't have had a decent place to park. But I stopped here and I took pictures and pictures and pictures. And as I'm, and I finally decide I'm going to leave. I leave, and there's a guy in a sedan coming down the hill there, and he's got his family with him and stuff. And I'm like, hey, there's some bighorn sheep there. And he looks at me with this blank face and goes, oh. And he just keeps on going. I'm like, well, you must see a lot of those then. Okay, chapter 4. Let's get back. Let me talk more about this. So it's a protected area here. You can't, this area up here is real popular with ATVs and side-by-sides and stuff. And that particular area there, you can't use any of that stuff there. So it's really kind of nice if you want to get out and do some hiking. And right up the way here, I'm telling you what, there's a there it looks like a farmhouse or something that's been there a long time anyway, because I wouldn't know how you'd get land in the national forest like this, so it had to be there before they made it an actual national forest. But it's right beside a little lake, and oh boy, it looks like just the most spectacular place ever. I've got more footage of it, of course, and a bunch of pictures, of course. And we'll have to revisit it at a different time here, but I'm pretty sure it's got. Oh yeah, there it is right there. I think. Let me put my Geordie LaForges on so I can tell. Oh yeah, there it is right there. And you know, on this trip here, right here, I don't spend a lot of time giving you all the good stuff at once there, but that their little farmhouse way back in there, and I can't even imagine just how incredibly gorgeous that is, because this is as close as people can get, so that's good. There's cow shit all over the road there. All right, chapter 4, and we continue. For 3 weeks, Davidson remained in this singular state, seeing what at the time was imagined was an altogether phantasmal world, and stone blind to the world around him. Then, one Tuesday, when I called, and then one Tuesday, when I called, I met old Davidson in the passage. "He can see his thumb," the old gentleman said, in a perfect transport. He was struggling into his overcoat. "Aye, he can see his thumb, Bellows," he said, with the tears in his eyes. "The lad will be all right yet." I rushed into Davidson. He was holding up a little book before his face and looking at it and laughing in a weak kind of way. "It's amazing," she said. "Wait, she?" I rushed in. And he, "Oh, okay, yeah." "It's amazing," said he. "There's a kind of patch. Come here." He pointed with his finger. "I'm on the rocks as usual, and the penguins are staggering and flapping about as usual. And there's been a whale showing up every now and then, but it's got too dark now to make him out. But put something there, and I see it. I do see it. It's very dim and broken in places, but I see it all the same, like a faint specter of itself. I found it out this morning while they were dressing me. It's like a hole in this infernal phantom world. Just put your hand by mine. No, not there. Ah, yes, I see it. The base of your thumb and a bit of cuff. It looks like the ghost of a bit of your hand sticking out of the darkling sky. Just by it, there's a group of stars, like a cross coming out." From that time, Davidson began to mend. His account of the change, like his account of the vision, was oddly convincing. Over patches of his field of vision, the phantom world grew fainter, grew transparent, as it were. And though these translucent gaps he began to see dimly the real world about him, the patches grew in size and number, ran together, and spread until only here and there were blind spots left upon his eyes. He was able to get up and steer himself about, feed himself once more, read, smoke, and behave like an ordinary citizen again. At first, it was very confusing to him to have these two pictures overlapping each other like the changing views of a lantern. But in a little while, he began to distinguish the real from the illusionary. Whew. Yeah, we cruising along here. We might get, no, I don't know if we will. We might though. We might get through this. At first, he was unfeigningly glad, and seemed only too anxious to complete his cure by taking exercise and tonics. But as that odd island of his began to fade away from him, he became queerly interested in it. He wanted particularly to go down into the deep sea again, and he would spend half his time wandering about the low-lying parts of London, trying to find the water-logged wreck he had seen drifting. The glare of real daylight very soon impressed him, so vividly as to blot out everything of his shadowy world. But of a night-time, in a darkened room, he could see the white splashed rocks of the island, and the clumsy penguins staggering to and fro. But even these grew fainter and fainter, and at last, soon after he married my sister, he saw them for the last time. Oh, I can tell what's going to happen. He's going to want to go back. Okay, chapter 5. And now, to tell of the queerest thing of all, about 2 years after his cure, I dined with the Davidsons, and after dinner, a man named Atkins called in. He is a lieutenant in the Royal Navy, and a pleasant, talkative man. He was only friendly terms with my brother-in-law. He was on friendly terms with my brother-in-law, and was soon on friendly terms with me. It came out that he was engaged to Davidson's cousin, and incidentally, he took out a kind of pocket photograph case to show us a new rendering of his fiancée. And, by the by, said he, here's the old Fulmar. Davidson looked at it casually. Then suddenly his face lit up. Good heavens, said he. I could almost swear. What? Said Atkins. That I had seen that ship before. Don't see how you could have. She hasn't been out of the South Seas for 6 years, and before then... But, began Davidson, and then, yes, that's the ship I dreamt of. I'm sure that's the ship I dreamt of. She was standing off an island that swarmed with penguins, and she fired a gun. Good Lord, said Atkins, who had now heard the particulars of his seizure. How the deuce could you dream that? And then, bit by bit, it came out that on the very day Davidson was seized, HMS Fulmar had actually been off a little rock to the south of Antipodes Island. A boat had landed overnight to get penguins' eggs, and had been delayed, and a thunderstorm drifting up. The boat's crew had waited until the morning before joining the ship. Atkins had been one of them, and he corroborated word for word the descriptions Davidson had given of the island and the boat. There is not the slightest doubt in our minds that Davidson has really seen the place in some unaccountable way while he moved hither and thither in London. His sight moved hither and thither in a manner that corresponded about this distant island. How is absolutely a mystery. We cruising in on Alpine here. If I step it up, we're going to get done this sucker. That completes the remarkable story of Davidson's eyes. It's perhaps the best authenticated case in existence of real vision at a distance. Explanation there is none forthcoming, except what Professor Wade has thrown out. But his explanation invokes the fourth dimension and a dissertation of theoretical kinds of space. The talk of there being a kink in space seems more nonsense to me. It may be because I am no mathematician. When I said that nothing would alter that fact that the place is 8,000 miles away, he answered that 2 points might be a yard away on a sheet of paper and yet be brought together by bending the paper around. The reader may grasp his argument, but I certainly do not. His idea seems to be that Davidson, stooping between the poles of the big electromagnet, had some extraordinary twist given to his retinal elements through the sudden change in the field of force due to the lightning. Okay, now you guys know this story is well over 100 years old, right? He thinks, as a consequence of this, that it may be possible to live visually in one world while one lives bodily in another. He has even made some experiments in support of his views, but so far he has simply succeeded in blinding a few dogs. I believe that is the net result of his work. Though I have not seen him for some weeks, latterly I have been so busy with my work in connection with the St. Pancras installation that I have had little opportunity of calling to see him. But the whole of this theory seems fantastic to me. The facts concerning Davidson stand on an altogether different footing, and I can testify personally to the accuracy of every detail I have given. Ooh, boy, oh boy, that's that. That's the end of the story. Now that is just amazing. Now, I tell you what, you think about a lot of the stories that are coming out today about duality, time travel. What's that other one? Oh, remote viewing. That was a big one for a while with the CIA and whatnot. Okay, let's just wrap this thing up. Sam C., thank you so much for coming along, and we'll have a moment with Rosie and leave it at that.